May I come in, ma'am?
Come in, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Thank you.
So you did B.Tech in textile technology.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is the position of textiles in it? At one point, textile manufacturing was the top industry in India. When we started industrialization, textiles was the leading one. Slowly, the importance has gone down. So, how useful is textile technology? Can it help to revive, increase our exports? What do you think is the solution?
Ma'am, it contributes around $39 billion to our export earnings every year. It has declined after pandemic, but it is significant for its employment also. But for boosting our exports, we need to work on multiple areas. First is the manufacturing base, ma'am. The textile machine manufacturing, in which almost 90% we import from outside. And the one company that is working at international level like Lakshmi Machine Works, it is in spinning sector, and in spinning we are the leader in the world. Ma'am, second is our logistics cost, which is very high, our labor laws, which are complex, and ma'am, our adverse duty structure, which is cotton specific, and in the world market, 60% is dominated by the synthetics. Ma'am, that is also a problem. And ma'am, apart from this, the MSME sector largely dominates, because of which we are not able to manufacture on economies of scale like China. And then Bangladesh and Vietnam are competing us in apparel sector because they have duty-free exports and FTAs.
We have duty on exports?
Ma'am, 9% is we pay, because Vietnam has FTA with EU and Bangladesh is least developing country, because of which it gains the advantage over us.
So, how will knowledge of textile technology help to improve the machinery which is outdated? Do you think anybody is working on those things?
Ma'am, we have one center of excellence in IIT Mumbai, which is working in this area. But as of now, the way whole textile value chain is already existing in our country, from raw material to the branding and designing. The manufacturing base has been lower, and for this, ma'am, first thing would be to transfer the textile machinery from the Ministry of Heavy Industries to the textile industry for better administrative synchronization. And ma'am, second would be forming joint ventures and alliances like 𝐃𝐢𝐯𝐼, which is German manufacturer, is now coming to India and to manufacture machines within India.
Okay. Mr. Handa, we'll start with you and then go this way. Do start off.
Thank you, ma'am.
Divya, you are from Uttar Pradesh, and your second choice is Indian Police Service. Let's presume that you get Indian Police Service and you get your home cadre also. You are posted in UP. First few years you work in the field. After that, you are transferred to Lucknow with the office of the head of the police force in UP. He gives you a job. He says it's a challenging task. He puts you in charge of a committee for reforms of the police in UP. It gives you two ideas. That one is, I'm not happy with the image of the police in the eyes of the people. It needs to be improved. Secondly, what is also disturbing is the low morale of the police force. Both these things must be attended to. What will be the suggestions you will give in the committee? Police reforms.
So, for the image rejuvenation of the police, the first step would be to try to make the constabulary, which is almost 80% of the police force, try to give them gender sensitization and child sensitization, these trainings at the recruitment stage itself. And sir, second would be to deliver the FIRs, investigation reports directly to the families and with a pre-advanced appointments with them. This will endear the police forces to our citizenries. Going for e-governance measures for grievance redressal like Thana Divas is already happening, these kind of things. And sir, apart from this, the Prakash Singh guidelines which were there in 2006 laid down by Supreme Court, based on this.
What was that?
So it had the provisions for Police Complaint Authority, National Security Commission, State Security Commission, and 2-year security.
Anything else? This is one side of it.
Yes, sir.
It covers the image also.
Sir, for overhauling the image, I think the investigations, they need to be supplemented with better forensics and investment and evidence management practices, for which we need to arrange for more workshops and trainings. I had the privilege to attend one police conference which happened in Lucknow, and there various good ideas were floated, but they need to be boiled down to the practice level so that we can see the outcomes qualitatively and quantitatively.
So whatever you would do is only for the police force, nothing with the public.
So that one aspect I did not address, sir.
Doesn't matter. One more question, Divya.
Yes, sir.
When I interact with my friends abroad from various other countries, I get to hear something which is disturbing to me. They say that India has the image of being a high corruption country. Now my question is very fundamental, that what are the reasons of high corruption in India?
Sir, primarily two reasons are there. First, corruption is perceived as a high reward and low risk business venture.
High rewarded?
Low risk. It is easy to do it in our country.
Can you give some example of that?
So the retail corruption that happens at the official level, before birth certificates and income certificates were distributed online, they were in an offline mode. There was a regular physical interface between the officials and the citizens.
You are talking of corruption in the government officials.
Sir, that, but also in other areas also there. But in private sector, the way I have been there for 3 years, so I did not perceive it in that way. And so my second reason is the way indifference is towards the corruption in the people's psyche. We have gotten used to. So these two things need to be addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Divya, you are from Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh population control bill draft has been in the paper. I have gone through it. How do you justify it? They have taken the welfare scheme from those who has got more than 2 children. And these all, parameters are using by the government. So do you favor this population control bill, or you are not in favor of this?
Sir, I favor the incentive side of it because that will create a relative...
Incentives we are giving since last 70 years.
Yes, sir, that is there.
When one go for tubectomy or the vasectomy, they get the 1,000, 2,000 rupees also, then some incentives. Diets is also given. So still it is not working. What measures can you take? If you want to change some, in this bill, what changes you will make?
Sir, I will remove the disincentives because they convert this relative disadvantage into absolute one. It will also have effect on additional sterilization burden on the woman, and because of son meta preference, it will affect the sex ratio, which is already around just 912, lower than the national average, and it will also impact the unwanted child, which would be maybe the 3rd child. So this will lead to discrimination also. So sir, I do not support this part of the bill because of these reasons. And for changes, sir, I think...
Then how will we control the population?
So 4 things are the cause for this. First is early marriage. For this, we have schemes like 𝐍𝐄𝐗 𝐻 𝐈𝐀𝐒 to delay the marriage, to engage them in education and employment opportunities. So second is about the illiteracy, removing them, and better awareness campaigns.
But we will miss the train. You see, we take so much time in literating the women because rather educating them instead of literacy. So even then they don't understand, it will take a long time. We are 22 crores in UP, we will be 44 crores. Where the resources will come if you don't take any. They have not taken still the force measure, no punitive measure in that bill also. But they have just taken away the advantages they are giving, the welfare scheme they are giving. So is not that right, do you think?
Sir, if
Because
we look,
theoretical, we have done many things and we can talk in interview also very theoretical. We can do and do. But is it practically feasible?
sir, the TFR of Uttar Pradesh has come down to a large extent because of these measures only. It is today 2.7. Earlier it was more
That's
than
true.
4.
Then again the problem, there is a demographic change. One
Yes,
group is crying that demography change. If the demography change, that is also dangerous. It's a very clear thing. If demography changes, again it is a danger to
Yes,
the
sir.
population. So what measures can we take?
Sir, the disincentives somehow are discriminating our citizens for public positions and from government subsidies, which I think are their fundamental rights, and therefore I do not support it. But in the interest of population control, because it's a long-term and social issue.
What measures then?
Sir, aggressive awareness campaigns using our ground level forces.
Aggressive campaign, okay. Ground level forces. Two things.
Sir, the marriage interventions delaying that, better contraceptive prevalence. As of today, it is only 31%. So we should try to increase that using our Ashas, Anganwadis, and trying to enumerate our population, giving them more jobs. Because sir, in China example.
Let us come now to on the bullet trains. India is running a bullet train. My last question to you. What is the Maglev technology?
Sir, it is magnetic levitation in which the surface of the metro does not touch the ground because of the similar polarity of magnetic field, which is
So
in
I
between.
was reading there are two systems. I am not technical. I am just asking. There are two systems, EDS and EMS system. What is the difference in both these systems?
Sir,
Electrodynamic system and EMS system, electromagnetic system. What is the difference in this bullet train and run on these systems, in two systems?
Sir, this I do not know.
Achha, you may be.
I'll need to read about it.
Okay.
You are working in Indian railway traffic system.
So I have joined, but I have not worked.
You are not working.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, India always had an issue with its neighbors. Pakistan and China are perpetual problems, but we also meddled in Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and always ended up having a conflict situation with them. What is wrong with our foreign policy?
Sir, foreign policy is a very dynamic and evolutionary subject. Things may have gone wrong because we were also an evolutionary democracy at that time. All we have done is try to balance two things, securing our national interest while following a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam approach.
What was the problem with Bhutan?
Sir, with Bhutan, we enjoy one of the best friendship and peaceful ties. There is a resentment towards the energy generation projects that we are taking the surplus power.
Was it? No.
And also their GDP, sir. Their debt is almost more than 80% to India.
Perfect. So why should I meddle my nose there? They are happy. India is helping Bhutan in generation of hydropower. We buy hydropower from them. Okay, that is one of the export commodity from Bhutan. If their GDP is good, why should I have heartburn? So what was the issue?
So Bhutan has to manage big neighbors, China and India. And because of the pressure from Chinese side also, Arunachal Pradesh is strategic location and Bhutan's historical and civilization ties with India, I think that creates fiction. But that should not make us believe that we should not be having engaging relationship with this country.
Have you heard about cellular jail?
So I think it is in Andaman Nicobar Islands.
No, you think it is or it is? Or it is in Lakshadweep?
It is not in Lakshadweep, it is in the Andaman Nicobar Islands.
Who are our freedom fighters associated with cellular jail?
Sir, there are many names coming in my mind right now, but
Tell me, no issue.
but I am not sure about them.
Okay, let's guess.
Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Savarkarji, and sir, I do not know any further.
What has been the contribution of Savarkar towards India's independence movement?
So, biggest one is giving in the energy to it. He called 1857 revolt the first war of independence, and also he was involved in the revolutionary activities. Though today we might, in the hindsight, we may see differently the revolutionary activities, but they gave energy and spirited to the people of our country. And that had a big impact on the further movements like Quit India movement and finally the independence.
Okay, my last question to you. Cricket is a very popular game, but the other games are not so popular. What should be done to make them popular so that more players take on these games and we have a better chance of winning medals and having international fame?
So popularity will come when the games will be played by many people across the world as well as in country, and there will be some remuneration attached to it as a career also. So promoting them as a career, improving the sports governance in our country, and improving the talent acquisition from the grassroots levels, because the most important time is when they are young, and that is the most neglected one also. And sir, apart from this, training them for alternative fields also, especially the ones which cannot compete well at the higher levels, so that the other who start their life in the sports, they have some degree of surety. I think it is the surety and certainty that is missing in this career.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Harare is your favorite?
So these days I am reading.
These
now.
days, okay. Means some questions related to history. Why history syllabus is always more controversial in Indian context?
So because our history has largely been dominated by the victor's point of view, not the indigenous people's point of view.
So you are question marking the philosophy of the historians.
So historians were not a monolithic entity. There were different historians. But
Exactly. No, I agree. Yes. So any recent controversy you remember? Recent means 2 years,
So-
5 years, 10 years.
it was about the Mysores Tipu Sultans, his name and that's inclusion in the syllabus, if I recall it correctly.
So what is your opinion on that?
Sir, he fought for India and he was against the British occupation, allying with the French. So in that sense, by putting the right figures about what had happened, because we have the data, I presume, so it should be included. But in its context, not out of context.
And any other in northern India on medieval period or?
Sir, I am not able to recall any name right now.
You have worked in private sector also. What part of the philosophy of private sector you would like to introduce in government, or some government philosophy in the private sector?
So, most importantly, one, that performance is the biggest job security, and therefore our payment should be linked.
So, job security you would like to introduce in private sector?
No, sir, I am saying from private sector I have learned that job security is not by being permanent, it is by being performing well.
You would like that in government also this can be?
So maybe pay structure can be changed. For instance, my TCTC was 1,25,000, but my fixed pay was 75,000, and rest of the money I could only get by fulfilling some of the performance management criteria, if I do well in that.
So
some
means
fixed,
that incentive schemes or something
sir.
can be in the government?
Yes, sir, that is one.
Because now you are going to join, whether you continue in traffic or any other service. So this is one aspect, though implementation may be quite difficult. Another aspect?
Sir, efficiency and accountability in whatever profile one holds.
In private sector.
So that can be translated to the government sector also.
Okay, and okay, 2 points. And from government sector, what can be learned for the private sector?
Believing in the large and big ideas and welfare and service motive, whose impact may not be visible in the immediate term, but maybe after 2-3 generations they will be visible. So having faith in big schemes, big ideas,
okay,
and welfare.
Second?
So second,
okay, there has been some recommendations to improve in government bureaucracy. Can you recollect? Can you name some? For its efficiencies, red tapeism, and many more.
sir,
From
there-
time to time. Or
Sir,
to
yes.
stop corruption.
So Niti Aayog had recommended increasing the teeth to tail ratio so that more number
that
of
is a very, that had gone unnoticed. But there has been on organized structure that committees set up.
So second would be building competencies to in the mid-career exams also.
No, but
For
I am asking that there has been some committees.
So Baswan committee was there, Yuganthar committee was there.
Basman committee was for this civil services reforms.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, this is my last one. So what, in your opinion, reforms are required in civil services? Examination.
So examination or in overall civil services?
Examination.
Examination.
Overall, we have already discussed. Santhanam committee was there, Vora committee, many more. That Administrative Reforms Commission, many recommendations have been. But for exam, Baswan committee, what reforms you will suggest?
Sir, 2 things. Making the pattern in such a way that it is more application oriented, doing something about that part.
Okay,
And
this is the philosophy. What exactly for that can be implemented from next year examination? You feel age is all right?
So I cannot complain about age. I am 30 years now and I started my preparation when I was 27. So those people who have awareness about the civil services, they may apply early, but
Because now the gate is open to you.
yes,
It
sir.
had been 26, 25, then you would have done accordingly. So this is not the personal angle. In the overall, when we are competing with the private sector at the age of 21, 22, from Lady Sri Ram College and IIT, and then here we are having up to 40 years. Okay, second reforms. So age you are not, you don't want to consider.
So I would consider, but based on committees and the way, because sir, in rural areas, many children, I know, I am from Navodaya, that there are many children who do not know about civil services.
Sorry, but in 79 when Kothari submitted this report, that time our literacy was not there. In 40 years we have reached much more.
Yes.
School access is much, the outlook of life. And now nobody is from rural area. See the composition, everybody is attending coaching, universities, everything is. So now that is not there, they are not aware of the civil service examination. Anyway, second. Any structure in the examination? Subjects?
Sir, maybe the optional subject, because that disturbs the level playing field. We already have some degree of specialties owing to our graduation.
So it should be deleted.
So we can modify it. I do not know the exact form, but going more towards the general studies and applied nature of the exam.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. You're a good candidate, and I'm sure you'll do well in the interview. This is not your first public interview, is it?
No, ma'am.
You've been for the civil services before also.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think was the shortfall there? What was it that, did you analyze as to where you fell short in getting in?
Ma'am, only in interview or in mains also?
Pardon?
So 176. 176. It is around 64%. And
Okay, so it wasn't the interview that
Ma'am,
The
one needs to
reason why you
perform
didn't-
outstanding in either mains or interview. So mine was a little above average in both the areas, but not too well. So it was like that. But only in interview, I can say that there was a lot of under-preparedness. I was not completely prepared for what it takes to be in the interview.
So now you feel more prepared.
This is a feeling, yes, ma'am. I have worked for improvement in this area.
Okay. Now you are changing, now listening to you, changing from private sector, which has many advantages. The pay is very good, everything, and efficiency, etc. But why then do you want to move to government?
Ma'am, civil service has one of the most vast, massive and most impressive network in our country. And the opportunities, impact and the diversity that I might have here is unparalleled.
Okay. Right. So, is there anything you would like to ask any of the panelists for guidance?
So I would want to know about how to address that portion about population bill, because I think some logical argumentation was missing there. And second, about the reforms.
You were quite right when you were talking about this population. The punitive measures you were denying should not be adopted, and welfare scheme cannot be taken away. You are right in that way. Educating, what the ways we have for this controlling. This is only, if we take punitive measure, the many organization will come. You are forcing, you cannot force a father. You have two child,
Yes,
if we have 3 child, we cannot put him in the jail. Is it possible? So you are almost right. But take a stand, whatever you take.
Yes, sir.
As the chairman will tell you.
Look, whatever it is, don't be afraid. You see, if it's a controversial issue that somebody is talking to you, don't be afraid to take an anti-government stance, because you're not yet a government officer. And it's also important, the person is also gauging whether you can do independent thinking, whether you're not afraid to take contrary decisions, that you're not a yes person. So don't be afraid to say frankly what you think about the issue or anything. So that is there, and otherwise I think you're doing quite well. You just need to read up a lot more on some of these questions, especially on, since you've taken textile technology, a little bit more on the place of textiles in Indian economy. And then of course some of the major issues today, farmers, media surveillance, interstate border issues between in the Northeast. And of course, people will ask you about gender ratios or whatever, or women's issues. So you should know what are the various empowerment schemes that have been put in place by government. And this thing about the private sector versus government. Should government, if they are not efficient, if the officers after at the mid-term career, if they prove themselves that they have been inefficient, should there be a policy of review and then removal if they are found inefficient? Because now it's a lifelong job. Nobody can remove you. But is that what is good for this country, and is that what is good for this service? So think about this. In private sector, you can be hired and fired. But in government, lifelong, you can sit at home and do nothing and still nothing will happen to you. You'll get your time-bound promotion. So what is the thing?
I am inclined to take a view that performance should be the sole motive, because we are delivering services to the government. That is the essential work here. So can I say this?
Of course. That is what I was trying to say, that you must say your opinion. not just what you think is acceptable to the panel. You must state because tomorrow you may hold a different opinion to your superior, and yet you know that your opinion is right. At least you must be able to put it on record to say that, that this is how I feel. Whether your boss takes it or not, that's a different issue, but you have made your point. Especially when the thing that he's being asked of you is not correct. You must be able to take a stand and put it on record and argue for it. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
We interacted online.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that time I avoided those questions, Divya, fiction, Harare, textile, Kanpur. Here, this time I am finding आप थोड़ा सा hesitance बनी हुई है. I found online अभी आप इतनी you may be at the age of 30, but that should not affect our decision. Similarly, as madam, the performance, decision making, because हमारे यहाँ सरकार में तो फाइल जाने कितनी चैनल पे जाती है ना, प्राइवेट सेक्टर में नहीं होता. फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर से मुझे लगता है कि आप पता नहीं क्यों अपने को रोक रही थी. इंटेलिजेंट एनालिटिकल.
Your answers are brief, crisp and to the point. The sports वाला जो आपने आंसर दिया कि there should be a guarantee of job. Nobody speaks there. They will say big institutes should be made, big things, but come hitting the bullseye, I think that is one of your plus points.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
We'll do well.
Sir, about the police, because it's my
You're
second
doing well,
choice.
your answer is okay, but I would expect you to focus a little more on the welfare of the police force.
Yes, sir, that is a concern.
Everybody criticizes the lower rank of the police force, but most people do not know the conditions in which they work. Where the remuneration that they give, the working hours that they have, the living conditions and the work conditions that they get, unless there is a significant improvement in that, you cannot give motivation to them. Training and technology are cosmetic things. They do not give motivation.
Yes.
So ultimately it boils down to what a human being wants at that level.
Material and moral support.
I have seen in Maharashtra, in a place like Bombay, ma'am is from Maharashtra, a large number of police force people stay in Dharavi. And we came to know of it more specifically when the COVID hit Dharavi last year. Dharavi is the biggest slum of Asia.
Yes, sir.
Why do they live there? Government doesn't provide accommodation. Government doesn't give enough HRA to hire it. They all come from villages. Families live in villages and they live here. They have to spend probably more than their salary in their survival. Where is the motivation?
And then overworking.
Overwork plus tough working and very little to get. Corruption is bound to be there.
So I have thought of issues in the sense that they are understaffed, under-equipped, overburdened. There is clubbing of responsibility and political interference.
That is why I asked you the next question on corruption. Corruption is bound to be there in these conditions. I used the word fundamental. Your answer was right. You gave a very good answer, that acceptance. But the main reason, fundamental reason for corruption in India is two things only. One, we are a poor country. You need to compare India with poor countries of the world, say per capita income. Coupled with another thing, we are the country which is at the bottom list of the inequalities.
Yes, sir.
Inequalities are high in a poor country, corruption is always more. It's bound to be there.
That is one of the root cause, sir. I will take note of it, sir.
Okay. All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
All
you,
the
sir.
best.
Thank you, sir.